With all the protests and racial unrest that's going on around the world, our next guests are here to talk to us about how to speak to our children about the reality of what's going on and how to make sure that they feel safe while doing so. With me, we have mental health advocate, speaker, and author Achea and maternity wellness expert Latham Thomas. Welcome, ladies. How are you doing?
Really good. Thank you for having us.
So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Let's talk about how exactly we speak to our children about all that's going on in the world. You know, CNN and Sesame Street just had their town hall on racism. It's their second installment of their town halls. And in one of the clips, I think a lot of people were very familiar with is when Elmo asked his dad, "Hey dad, like what's going on?" Elmo doesn't understand. Elmo doesn't get it. And his father explained what was really going on. Do you think that helped? What are your thoughts on that specific town hall?
Sure. Thank you so much for having us this morning, first of all. You know, I think that it's interesting because a lot of people are having trouble talking about race with their children. They think, oh, what's the earliest age? You know, how is the conversation going to be impactful? And then we see, you know, Sesame Street, you know, tackling all types of issues for children at all ages. So we know it's possible, but what we don't understand or people don't tend to understand is that as children are growing, they start to really develop their sense of bias. And that starts around age 2. They start to see difference in skin color, the way people are treated. And so in a conversation like on Sesame Street, children understand. And I think it's a platform for then parents to continue that conversation at home. And there's so many great resources right now. There's books coming out, there's tool guides, resources, everything's online. And I think a lot of stuff is on Instagram as well, where you see folks sharing resources. So I think it's never too early, and I love that they actually took the lead by challenging the issue head on.
I agree. What about you, Achea?
Yeah, I would have to say I agree with Latham too. First off, also thank you for having us on. I was happy to see Sesame Street actually have a show to tackle those very important issues. One of the things that, you know, I have a lot of white friends and they were asking me that very same question. And one of the things that I, you know, pointed out to them is that as an African-American woman, you know, and a mother, we don't necessarily have the privilege of not talking to our kids about it, right? So we have to start very early on. And so I wanted to just encourage them to just get comfortable with that conversation, because that way, if children know the history of this country, if they understand what happened in the past and why things are still happening today, then you won't repeat it. The education is so key. And when you know better, we would hope that everybody would do better.
So, and that leads me into a great point, Achea. You actually wrote an article called Why You Can't Have the Race Talk with Your Kids Until You Understand Black History. And Latham, I'm not sure if you were able to read that, but I think it was a great article. Can we discuss that a little bit more, Achea? Your thoughts in writing that article and what you had to say about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, just like what I said to you a few minutes ago, I really feel that it's important to educate our children on what's happened in the past. And so much of American history, I don't even like to call it Black history. Honestly, I like to say Black history is American history because we helped build this country and we are very much included in the fabric of this nation. And so I think that we deserve more than a month. I think that, you know, our children are entitled to, no matter what color they are, if they are a citizen of the United States, they are entitled to know the history of this country, because we are robbing them if we don't talk to them about all of the things that have happened and all of the progress that we've made and how we need to improve. And I think if you fail to educate them on the past, it's going to be very difficult to kind of explain to a little 8 or 9-year-old, maybe even younger, like what's happening now. Like they'll think it's like all of the sudden. So you kind of have to gradually have that discussion about, okay, this is what happened in the past and this is nothing new, basically.
Yes, absolutely. So speaking of, you know, starting within yourself first as a parent, both of you guys have books that are out or coming out. Latham, you have your Glow, a soulful guide to luminous living and crowning the queen. And Achea, you have Be Free, Be You. And both of them are like really just from the title, I can tell like both of them are really like, you know, you better do you. You better be the best you can be. So I did want to touch on mental health tips for the Black community during these times. You know, we see so much every day. As of lately, we see so much on the news, so much on social media. It's very hard to get away from it. It's very hard to unplug as well. So how do we manage our anxiety in light of the police brutality and the racially charged attacks that are in the media? How do we work on that?
I can take a stab, I guess. You know, one of the things that I've been really careful about is being discerning as far as how much media I actually take in. There are things that I like to watch and things that I like to see, you know, just to check in. But to consume it all day really has a very negative impact on me. And so then I have to remind myself to check in with myself and see how those emotions are being held in my body. Because I realize that if I am not helping myself, I'm no good to anybody else. So that means that if I'm not, you know, I mean, I can't be out there speaking and advocating if my cup is empty. So I just, on a daily basis, really try to check in, get away from it, do the things that, you know, make me happy and make me full, if you will. And if that's staying off of social, if that is not watching the news, that's what I do.
Yeah, I think similarly, you know, like just watching what you consume is so important because it consumes you. And I think in our community, because what's happening now is that we've always seen these things and know that they've occurred, but now there's like this global spotlight where everyone else is finally seeing. And so they're also seeing us mourn publicly and process publicly, whether that's through social spaces, and obviously we're not together in the way that we would be, except for in protests, right? So a lot of us are having these moments of existential stress and crisis and anxiety alone, right? Or in our homes. And a lot of us parents specifically are having these thoughts about like our children and their safety every time they go outside. You know, are they going to be adultified? Are they going to be, you know, are they going to encounter law enforcement? Are they going to be harmed by the state? And so I think that all of that builds up. And if there's no way to express that, because culturally we've sort of been seen as people who go to church, don't go to therapy, which is changing, and it's changed a lot in the past few years. And I think this embrace that I see, this new generation of folks who are embracing therapy, embracing mental health support as a pathway to self-care, and understanding the direct line of, you know, these instances of trauma. They don't even have to occur to us because we're connected, and we're a people that are connected like that. So if it happens to you, I don't have to have experienced it to be affected, right? And so what's happening, I think, collectively is stuff is coming up for each of us, and many of us have not grown up with the tools to process it. One of the things I also want to mention is that, you know, Black people have not even been able to check in with each other, right? Like we usually do that. We usually, hey girl, how you doing? We check in with each other. We have not been able to do that because we're so overwhelmed with the anxiety and the pain and just what we're going through, that I've asked, you know, people that I know, white people, just publicly on Instagram, I was like, where have y'all been? Like, have y'all checked in with your Black friends? Because I see you posting Black Lives Matter stuff. I see all the things people are posting, brands, everybody's posting stuff, but who's actually checking in on real Black people to see how they're feeling right now? And that's what I would like to see more of.
Yes, I agree. Well, thank you ladies so much for having this conversation. It was a great open dialogue. I think that a lot of people can get a lot from this. Again, thank you so much for stopping by with Bold.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us.